Well, good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good to have all of you here. It is my honor to welcome all of you to what is our annual, and I say annual, Business and Funded Partner Agency Recognition event. I say that in quotes a little bit because obviously the last couple of years have not been normal for most of our lives, has it? And so we have obviously had to put this on hold for a couple of years, but I am extremely excited to have this opportunity to be back in the room together with all of you. Some of you who I'm meeting for the first time this morning, and some of you I've known for a while, but it is great to be together. This is just a great opportunity for us to get together and to bring together some of those who have been really key partners for us at the United Way of Hastings, and others who are in this room because you partner in a different way, and we are able to work with you in having a significant impact in the community. And so we're going to introduce some of those agencies, some of our funded partner agencies this morning. We wanted to take some time this morning as well to highlight some of the work that we're doing through the United Way of Hastings, but also to take some time to recognize key partners who have really given sacrificially to help us do what we do as an organization. So my name is Matt HEDRICK. I am currently serving as the board chair for the United Way of Hastings. I've been working with the board for a few years, and honestly, I got engaged with the United Way of Hastings through my role in the police department here in town. I'm a patrol sergeant with the police department, and I worked an overnight shift last night. So I came in at 3 for a meeting, and then stayed on, and then started working at 6 p.m. and got off work at 6 a.m. So if I say anything odd or lose my train of thought, it's sleep deprivation, not morning cocktails, okay? But interesting transition. Prior to policing, I was a pastor for 17 years. So normally when I have this, I'm used to either taking up an offering or praying. So we won't do either of those things this morning, just to relax you a little bit. But honestly, through that work in pastoral work, I really saw how important it is for partnerships and communities, and how critical it is for people to come together, and that synergy that happens when we come together to accomplish something greater than any of us could do alone. And that really is what the United Way of Hastings is about. And we're here to recognize all of you and the role that you play in helping us do what we do as an organization. So it's great to have all of you here this morning. Before we jump into our program this morning, we're going to spend about an hour together. I want to just take a moment, though, briefly, just to introduce and point out a number of our board members who are here this morning. And so I'm just going to introduce them if they're here, have them raise their hand. I know some of them are not able to be here this morning. But our vice chair is Scott Sharp from XL Energy. I don't think I saw Scott this morning. Our treasurer, Steve Glinke from Intech Plastics. I know he's here. You'll see a lot of Steve in a little bit. Sarah Osterberg from Premier Bank back there. Bob McDowell, Superintendent of Hastings Public Schools. Mike Tapella, Stock Coast Speedling. Chris Domingos of XL Energy. I don't think Chris was here. Teresa Chattel, though, from Our Savior's Lutheran Church is here. And Kathy Keena, our Dakota County attorney, is here. Dylan Hermansdorfer of Fleet Farm, and Keith Weiss of Coburn's. I don't believe either of them are able to be here this morning. But I also want to just introduce our executive director, Mary Melick. I know all of you in the room probably know Mary, but also Jane Newmiller-Bustad, one of our staff members, are here this morning with us as well. I want to draw your attention to the program that you got on your way in this morning. I want to take just a couple of moments and talk a little bit about some of the internal programs that we do at the United Way of Hastings. Some of these you're going to be familiar with, some of them you may not be. So I just want to take a moment and just talk a little bit about some of the things that we do on a day in and day out basis. One of those programs that we do is communities and schools. You're going to hear a lot about communities and schools this morning in a few moments. But it was a few years ago that the United Way of Hastings did some work of listening to the community and finding out what are the needs that the United Way of Hastings could really rise up to meet in our community here in Hastings in this area. And really the key takeaway that we learned from the community was a sense that the youth of our community needs support. They really need people and organizations like the United Way to come around them and help them in this season of their lives and where we are as a society. And we stepped up to that call, and in response, it resulted in a partnership with Communities in Schools. This is a national organization that has a presence here in Minnesota, and it's through our partnership and with a school district, we're able to fund a staff member who works alongside a number of students in the school to help them accomplish not only their educational goals, but also to really develop as people and as individuals and really get a vision for where they want to go in their lives and help to remove any obstacles that would get in the way of that. And so we're really, really excited about the work that is happening through Communities in Schools. Some of you are aware that over this past year, the United Way of Hastings has really taken a lead role in helping raise awareness around the issue of fentanyl poisoning and opioid overdose. And again, for me as a police officer, it's something that I unfortunately have to deal with on a regular basis. And we began to see the impact it was having in our community, and really it required an organization and some individuals just to step forward and kind of raise their hand and say, we're willing to kind of take the lead on this. And it wasn't just our work alone, but it resulted in partnership of really key people in the community of coming together. But it resulted in the United Way of Hastings hosting a series of informational events over this past year that has really had a significant impact in raising the awareness of this issue that's going on in our community and helping both equip parents, but also the youth in our community to be aware so that they can avoid some of the challenges and the devastating consequences that it can bring into their lives. Food for Kids is another part of our organization or program that we operate. Hunger is here in Hastings, whether you're aware of that or not. But one of the things that we have learned as we've gone along as an organization is that kids were going home, and where many of them were being able to be sustained through nutrition and food at school, they'd be going home on the weekends and not having that same base of strength in their nutrition. And so through Food for Kids, what we do is we partner with others in the community and with those of you who are here who've donated to pack meals and send those home with kids so they can go home and find nutrition during their weekend and come back to school ready to study and focus on what they have to do at school and not be hungry. And so it's a tremendous program. I mean, it's anywhere from 200 to 300 bags that are going home every weekend. Hunger is here, but through Food for Kids, it's less than it would be. And so we're really excited about that program. Helping Kids Succeed. This is also a tremendous program that's actually led by Jane, but also in partnership with a number of student leaders that she's been able to bring alongside and develop in leadership. And this is really a training, an educational, an informational component to help students understand and those that support them and are around them to understand the importance of having anchors in their lives and building a web of support so that they can find strength and resiliency to accomplish all that is intended for their lives and meet the goals that they have for themselves and be strengthened through that. We also are able to give away a scholarship every year through our donations that we receive. We're able to identify a student and give a scholarship. We're involved in a single care prescription program. We give some support to student activities throughout the summer through Spark. We have that donation zone, the opportunity for people to be able to donate vehicles that they're no longer using or have need of in order to help support our activities, but also through our activities with the Greater United Way, we also give support to the 211 program, which I didn't really know anything about until I came into the board, but this phone line that anyone can pick up at any time and get connected with resources. So those are a number of the things that we are doing in the community, and we're doing because of your support. And it's having an impact, and we're tremendously grateful for the opportunity to help meet the needs in our community. As I mentioned a moment ago, we're going to have the opportunity to hear from a couple of people this morning, and two of the people that I want to invite up this morning are going to talk to us a little bit about Communities in Schools. So I want to invite Cal and Katie to come up. And they're going to be sharing with us about this program and the impact that it's having. And we're getting them up here right away because, well, they got to go to school. You guys got to go to school, and I got to go home and go to bed. So we'll get you guys up here right away. But Kel O'Leary, if you haven't met Kel, you're missing out. She is just a blast of sunshine, seriously. She is just an amazing gal. And was born and raised in Red Wing. She attended Bethel University, my alma mater as well, and graduated with a degree in communications and psychology. Cal's been working with communities and schools at the Hastings High School for over 3 years, and she really has a passion for case management and working one-on-one with students. She mostly works with 9th and 10th graders in their academics, but also loves to connect and laugh with any student that she has the opportunity to. One highlight for her has been seeing her students advocate for themselves and connect with others and find success in and out of school. And with Cal this morning is Katie Markworth. Katie is an 11th grade student at Hastings High School. This winter, she tried wrestling for the first time. Awesome. We got 2 wrestlers in my house, too. She enjoys cooking, hanging out with friends, and playing her clarinet. And Katie is a fierce advocate for herself. She's friendly to all and loves to laugh. After high school, she hopes to become a Marine or go into truck driving. So Cal and Katie, thanks so much for being here this morning. Why don't you tell us a little bit about communities and schools?
Good morning. I'm Kel. I've been with Communities and Schools for now just over 3 years. It's probably the most interesting job change I've ever taken, of starting it 1 week before the pandemic hit. And just trying to figure out, how do you connect with students when no one's in school? But that's also like when I got to meet Katie, and I feel like we really developed a friendship and just a supportive role throughout the pandemic. And so I know that relationships were a huge thing for students during that time, because they didn't see their friends, they couldn't see a lot of relatives, and we found a way, and I really worked with a lot of kids trying to support them where they were at. So a little bit of background about Communities and Schools. As Matt was saying, it was kind of dreamed up of, these are students that need support and care in Hastings community, and how do we make that happen? And so the transition from middle school to high school is just a huge transition for students, academically, socially. It's a place for them to kind of mature and kind of grow into who they want to be. But with that, there comes like a lot of hiccups and struggles and trying to find support. And so that's where my role comes in. I work with about 50 students every school year. And so mostly 9th and 10th graders, working on academics, organizations, connecting with them with clubs, teachers, really just being a supportive adult. A lot of the students I work with maybe don't have parents that are super involved, or they're busy with other things. And so I kind of get to play that role of being their cheerleader and also helping keep them accountable. One big part of Communities and Schools is having the 3 tiers approach. And so tier 1, I work with students across the board of bringing in guest speakers for students, just the whole school community. Tier 2 is support for students specifically in groups or working with classrooms. And then tier 3 is working with case management students. And so during my case management, when I first started, I got to meet Katie. She had just moved to Hastings, and she'll tell you a little bit more about her experience from her lens. My lens, when I was introduced to her, was that she just moved here, wanted to make friends, didn't quite know how in that weird transition of only coming to school 2 days a week with COVID. And also really like you had a desire to do well in school, but you just didn't quite know how. So I will have her talk a little bit about who were you when you came to Hastings in your first year of high school?
Well, it was rough. I struggled a lot. I didn't really know what I was doing. I had a rough time with making friends even before moving to Hastings, so I was nervous a lot. I didn't know what to study for because Hastings was actually advanced in school compared to my other one. So when it came to homework and working, I didn't know what to do. So it was very rough, but Miss O'Leary, when she came in my freshman year, I had the help that I needed. I learned how to be organized. She helped me with homework if I didn't understand. And even if I had like a rough time with mental health, she was there supporting me, like being there.
So tell me a little bit about your experience working with me, because we got to know each other really well your freshman year, whether that was going on a walk to reset during your day or if that meant working on homework. I know when I saw you every day, that was a bright spot because I knew every 6th hour we were going to meet, we were going to check in on your missing work. We also were going to talk about some goals for the week. We also like to laugh a lot. We would make a lot of jokes on our walks because COVID times were hard for everyone, and we just needed to like lighten up the day a little bit. So tell me about what was your experience working with me in Communities and Schools?
It was amazing. I never really had a connection with like teachers or any person in the school. So working with her and having that brain break or having that person I could potentially lean on just a little bit helped a lot. Um, she helped with like everything, like including mental health. Like I said, like it was just a better thing that I needed. Like I struggled, and she helped me like relax a bit, really do better in school, like figure out what I wanted to be or who I wanted to be. She really helped.
And so one of the main visions behind Communities in Schools is helping 9th and 10th graders, of setting them up for success for the rest of their high school career. So tell everyone a little bit about how our connection changed your high school experience now that you're an 11th grader and almost a senior.
I've learned how to be more mature with what I want to do and be more organized, because without having that organization skill, I would have struggled a lot being an adult. She really helped me what I wanted to be. Like she would ask me, well, who do you want to be? And I, like freshman year, I would say, I have no idea. But with helping me, I figured out what I wanted to be, and like it just helped a lot. I don't really know like how to explain it more than that, but she helped me through so much and figured out like, okay, well, we need goals. Here's your goals for this week. It wasn't like, well, what's your life plan like? It was more like, here's this goal for this week, and we can figure out the rest.
So my perspective of Katie when she first came in was, you really wanted to make friends, didn't quite know how. You wanted to do well at school, didn't like doing homework. And now as you're on the verge of like being on track to graduate, like I've just seen you adjust and find friends, do schoolwork on your own, build relationships, new skills, trying out wrestling, wanting to have people that support you in a positive way. Of like, it's been a complete 180 of who you were in 9th grade to who you're going to be as you go into your senior year. So it's been awesome to watch, and I'm just so proud of you and how far you've come in the last 3 years.
Great job. Well, Katie and I met just this morning, and she told me she was extremely nervous. But my goodness, did you just do a great job, Katie? That was awesome. That was really awesome. We have 4 high schoolers in our home. We're a blended family. We have 2 seniors and a sophomore and a freshman. And I got to tell you, I mean, as a family, we don't face some of the challenges that our families face. But, I just think about my kids, and I get a little emotional about it. But, just the impact of somebody like Cal to come alongside students and support them and be a sounding board to them and believe in them, be a cheerleader. It's awesome. So thank you both for sharing, and for Cal, all that you're doing through Communities in Schools. That's just amazing. But the big thing is, I just want to highlight, I mean, it's your donations that really allow that to happen, and not just in Katie's life, but literally in the dozens of lives that that Cal's working with on an ongoing basis. And it's really just so special to see the impact that is having in lives, in our youth, and the impact that it's going to have for years to come. So thank you again for the impact that you're having. One of the other things that we're able to do as an organization is through our budget. One of the things that we do is we set aside funds every year, and this is maybe a little bit unusual, but we actually set aside funds every year, not to use in our own organization, but actually to give to other community partners, because it's really what the United Way of Hastings is about. It's about building partnerships to improve the lives of the people in our community. And we recognize that, again, it takes synergy, it takes partnership in order to touch people that maybe we wouldn't have a reach to in the community. But we recognize that there are a lot of great organizations in the community that we want to get behind and support. And so every year, what we do as an organization is we set aside funds in our budget, and then we solicit opportunities for organizations in the community to let us know of need that they have. And we review those, and then we give funds to support these different organizations in our community. And this morning, what I want to do is I want to take a couple minutes and highlight the 10 different organizations that we have identified that would be funded partner agencies for us in 2023. Again, you'll see them listed on your program there and on the back of the program that you have, right towards the top there. And what I would like to do, can't believe it, but I'm actually running a little ahead of schedule, I think. But one of the things that I want to do is I want to actually have each of you stand, and if you could just take like 60 seconds and just introduce yourself as I mention your organization. If you just introduce yourself and just like in 60 seconds, tell us what impact these funds are going to have for your organization, how they'll be used, and the impact that you're hoping that they'll have in the community. So we don't have everyone represented here this morning, but we do have most. And so I'd like to have you do that briefly, if you could. 360 Communities, Hastings Lewis House, if you wouldn't mind. Why don't we do this? Why don't you come up? I won't take very long, but for the benefit of the I'm going to have you stand on this side though, but for the benefit of the camera, I'd like to have it on microphone.
Sounds good. Good morning. Thank you. I'm Jeff Mortensen. I'm the president and CEO at 360 Communities. We're a large organization that works throughout Dakota County. The work that we're doing primarily in Hastings is around domestic and sexual violence and supporting survivors and victims of that issue. We operate what's called the Lewis House, and that is an emergency shelter for victims of domestic and sexual violence. We also have outreach advocates in the area, working with people that don't maybe need the emergency shelter. But domestic violence is one of those things that affects at least 1 in 4 women in your community. Sexual violence is going to impact, the data shows, at least 1 in 3 women by the time they're 25. It's horrific. It's happening in all of our communities, including Hastings, and it affects things like what's going on in school. So the work with youth, if their home is not a safe place and they're fearing when they go home, how can they focus on their studies? So that's the work we're doing in the community. Feel free to chat with me or connect with me. 360communities.org is a good way to get a hold of us. Happy to share more about what we do.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeff. Thank you. All right, Boy Scouts.
I'm Jeff Lindemuth. I'm what's called a district executive, so I cover my specific area for the Boy Scouts is Hastings, includes Hastings. Our council itself we go South Dakota, all the way across central Minnesota to include 4 counties in Wisconsin as well. So we've got a very wide area, but Hastings is part of that. And we currently have 4 troops and 3 packs in the area to kind of support putting the scouting program. And that's what the funds are going to.
Awesome. Thank you. Canvas Health.
Hi, everybody. I'm CAROLYN FELTY. I'm the manager of our school-based program at Canvas Health, and we are a nonprofit that works really throughout the metro. But here at Hastings, we're doing school-based work, so we have a full-time therapist in all of the school buildings here in Hastings doing therapy for kids and really trying to decrease barriers to access. We have some grant funds, great partnership with the school district. They support us a lot. Last year, we used some funds to help increase our time. So now we have 4 therapists, which was great. And we're able to see more kiddos and help more teachers. We do trainings. Another project we did last year that we're hoping to continue this year is some work with families. So reaching out, kind of having those skills, go to the home, giving families and parents some tools to help those kiddos. So we're hoping to expand that this year with some funds.
Awesome. Thank you. 360 Communities is one of those organizations that we are supporting as well, but obviously we took quite a bit of time to hear a little bit about what they do, and so I'll skip down to Hastings Community Ed.
My name is JACI, HANSEY, and I'm the Enrichment and Recreation Coordinator for Hastings Community Ed. And we'll be using the funds for free after-school middle school programming. We ran this past school year, or this current school year, I guess. And so we partnered with a number of organizations or teachers within the school to provide free after-school programming. So we partnered with the University of Minnesota Extension and did after-school cooking classes. We've offered cake decorating classes, some craft classes, chess club, cribbage club, and a few other ones too throughout the year.
And then Friends of Hastings Arts Center. Anyone here from there this morning? Okay. Friends of Mississippi River. I don't believe anyone was able to be here from them, from their organization this morning. Hastings Prescott Area Arts Council.
Good morning. My name is Kathy O'Keefe, and I'm the president of HPAC, which is Hastings Prescott Art Council. It's a really unique relationship that we have two organizations in two different states, two different towns work together. It makes writing grants really interesting, two pots that we can access. What we are known for, I think most is we have a scholarship fund for students or adults that want to access the arts and they just don't have the funds to do that. And most of our money goes to students that are wanting piano lessons, or we also sponsor a lot of show choir kids who have to buy those expensive costumes. So we're really proud that that group went as far as they did. We also have money that we use for bringing events, art events, into our community with a goal of trying to have as many of them be very reduced or even free. So we work with other organizations. Sod House Theater is a theater company out of Minneapolis. They come in every year and present a play for us. This will be our 4th year working with them. And typically the plays are free. This year's play is going to cost money because there's going to be food involved. So it'll be a nominal fee, but it's going to be called Table. So try to check that out. We also have, let me just look at my list. We have an art gallery that's run strictly by volunteers in Prescott, the Orange Dragon. We have one of our biggest things that we just did that we're incredibly proud about is that we were the driving force for getting an Arts and Culture Commission here in Hastings. And that really now will cause us to redefine ourselves, because that was kind of our role. We were always the one that the city would call if there was a question or a need in the arts area. We're working with the Confluence to create an art space for artists to display their art. And so that was a big thrill to have Pat Regan call and say, come on down to the project. And then he created a huge wall for us. So that's going to be an opportunity for us to display art and for artists in our area to sell their wares. We network a lot, and the money that we are getting today from you guys is going to go to the RAP program, which is the Recreation, Arts, and Police community summer program for kids. That last year was our first year. It was above and beyond what I thought was going to happen. And so our piece of it is providing the teacher and the funding for some really neat art activities that happen at that program. So thank you so much for all of the money that we got.
Great. Excellent. And then Legal Assistance of Dakota County.
Hello, I'm Sharon Jones, the Executive Director of Legal Assistance of Dakota County. We provide free legal services to low-income people in the community. Much like the United Way of Hastings helps build a web of support, we see families as the building blocks of our community. And some families, like Jeff mentioned earlier, have domestic or sexual violence in them, and they have family law needs. And so we provide representation to families in Hastings going through divorce, needing an order for protection, where they wouldn't otherwise be able to afford an attorney to help them through the system. And, you know, we know that representing people helps keep parents safe if they need to be safe. It helps keep kids safe. And it helps make sure that there are resources available to raise those kids in our communities. And I just have to say, I love this event because not only do I get to see the people doing the work in the communities, but then I get ideas about where to refer the kiddos in my cases for activities as well. So thank you so much, and thank you to the United Way.
Awesome. Thank you. And then our last organization is Shepherd of the Valley Church and their Redo Fitness program, which I do not believe they were able to be here this morning. But those are the 10 organizations. Can we just take a moment just to give a round of applause for all of these organizations, the work they're doing in the community? It's awesome. And again, it's your support that enables us to be able to get behind these organizations and help them along. This morning, what we want to do is we want to take a few moments to hear from a representative of one of these partner organizations to the United Way of Hastings. Steve Glinke. Steve is on our board. I introduced him briefly a few moments ago, but I've gotten to know Steve, I think, pretty well over the last few years, and just really enjoy him so much as a person. I go to his office every once in a while, and sometimes I'm in uniform, and I go in one of our meetings. It was actually quite lengthy. He was the president before I was, so it was kind of him catching me up on a lot of the things that I was going to need to know. And so it was a lengthy meeting, and I came out and I was walking down the hall, and I came back and I said, Steve, do you want me to stop at all the offices and tell them that wasn't a police matter that we were talking so much about? But Steve joined Intech Plastics in 2003 as a controller, and he became the company's chief financial officer in September 2004. He also served as Intech's chief operating officer from 2009 to 2017. Prior to joining Intech, he was a controller and logistics manager for Satellite Industries and the general manager of a local construction supply company. He earned his CPA designation while working in public accounting in 1992. He's got over 20 years of senior financial and operational leadership experience, which we, as an organization, have really benefited from having him on our board. He lives in Eagan. He's lived there for over 30 years with his wife, Ann. He's got two older sons, Zach, who's in accounting, and Wyatt, who's a chemical engineer. The family enjoys spending time together at their cabin on Lake Vermilion, fishing, hunting, and being in the outdoors. So Steve's going to take a few moments and talk to us a little bit about his perspective on their partnership with United Way.
Thanks, Matt. A lot of pressure on an accountant. Coming in and speaking behind somebody, a pastor who's used to getting up in front of people. I'll tell a brief story. I was in college at the University of South Dakota. I know Gretchen, who's from Intech, from South Dakota State, arch rivals. I remember I had to make a decision as to which type of major I had, management degree or an accounting degree. I talked to the counselor. The counselor said, well, if you're a management manager, chances are you're going to be in sales. I said, I'm an introvert. I don't like talking in front of two people, let alone in front of people. So I went into accounting. So since I've been in accounting, I've now had to learn how to talk in front of larger groups and do things like that. So I may not be as eloquent as Matt, but I'm a work in process. I'll phrase it that way. So as Matt had mentioned, I came to Intech Plastics in the early 2000s. Intech had its originated in Hastings in the early 60s, I believe. It was originally called Profile Extrusions. It was actually a publicly traded company back in the day. I actually can find news clippings with actual stock trading results on that. Eventually went out of business, was purchased by the Brooks family, which happened to own Multimeal over in Northfield. And for the next roughly 60 years, Intech was a smaller family-owned business in Hastings. And the Brooks family was very much involved in the community and wanted to support the community. And so that was in the DNA of Intech Plastics. And it had been, I was obviously there when I started in early 2000. And the United Way was always a big part of the giving of Intech Plastics. Some of you may have heard that recently, within the last 6 months, Intech Plastics was sold. The Brooks family had decided to move on and was purchased by the family that owns and runs M.A. Mortensen, the construction company up in the Twin Cities, a huge multinational organization. And one of their pillars and their decision-making process in which organizations they were looking to buy was what kind of processes or culture was in place in supporting communities. and that was one of the things that helped draw them into Intech Plastics. They actually have a formal program that they are rolling out at Intech. I believe it's called Impact, and Gretchen, who's here from Intech, and Pete, who is here from Intech as well, are three key members of the leadership team that are involved in the Impact program. And really what that was, when we looked at the program, it was really nothing more, it was nothing new that we hadn't been doing before, but it was really more geared about actually measuring the results. What is the impact you are having, whether it's to the environment, to the community, and things like that. So that tradition or that culture will continue with Intech as it relates to the new ownership with that. Just a little bit about Intech, what we do, for those of you who may not know. We're a custom plastic profile extruder. You know, what is that? Well, that is, for those of you who may remember the Play-Doh machine, you put the Play-Doh in and you put a little shape in front of it and you push on it and it would push out a star or something like that. We do that a little bit more high-tech with thermoplastics, okay? So, you know, we primarily serve the fenestration space. So Anderson, Marvin, Pella windows, Geldwin windows, Windsor windows, Colby windows. If you have those windows in your house, there's a good chance product that we've made here in Hastings is in those windows. So we help support some fairly large brands in the market space. Internally, as I had mentioned earlier, the supporting United Way has been a natural fit for us. It's the ability to be able to contribute funds, help support the United Way of Hastings, and then they can take those funds and support multiple organizations throughout the community. We help support that in a number of ways. Susan, who's also here from Intech, heads up a committee, our Week of Giving at Intech. She coordinates multiple events. We started out putting baskets together for auctions and things like that. Those baskets have now expanded into almost tabletops, and it creates a little bit of competition amongst the leadership team as to whose group can get the biggest table space and raise the most money. We also support it through lunches, raffles, and the other various events. And the other thing that Intech also does then is it matches dollar for dollar every contribution that an employee makes as part of these events, whether it's payroll giving, buying raffle tickets for the various baskets, things like that. We're supporting the United Way and the employees through that as well. We also, try to do as much as we can from a non-financial standpoint. We also do packing in the Food for Kids programs, things like that, food drives, bag drives. I know Susan's got a box behind her desk if anybody's willing to contribute Ziploc bags for the Food for Kid drives and things like that. So there's an overall organizational commitment to the United Way. It's not just monetary, it's also just doing the other little things and to help the community through the United Way of Hastings. I myself, Mary had reached out to Intech looking for additional board members in early 2000. I stepped forward just given my background in finance and felt it could be valuable to the organization, stepped forward, joined the board. I think, Barry, it was March of 2020 via Zoom meeting like everything else in the world, and it didn't actually get to meet the actual board members for almost a year face-to-face on that before we had our first meetings in that regard. So I came on as a vice president at that time and then was a president for a year prior to Matt. So we've also, that was, again, a natural extension for me at Intech in giving back to the community, was to step forward and share my time and talents with the organization to help it grow and support the Hastings community. I think it's important, as Matt had alluded to, we're funding a lot of programs, the communities and schools, helping kids succeed and things like that. It's helping. We probably don't see it directly, but we know it's also helping to support our employees as well. Unfortunately, some of our employees may be using some of these services. And so indirectly, I believe that through supporting the United Way, we're also helping our organization as well with that. So, so on behalf of the Hastings community, on behalf of the United Way, I also want to thank the business leaders in the room as well for their contributions and continued support of the United Way of Hastings. It's making Hastings obviously a better community, helping support the youth, and providing a long-term lifeblood, so to speak, of the Hastings community. Especially the work that Kel's doing in communities and schools, just helping those students that need a little extra work and a little extra support to get through and graduate, and coming back home. Mike is a perfect example. He went through the Helping Kids Succeed program in Hastings. He's now coming back. He's come back to the community. He's working at a local business. He's now on the board. So this is starting to come full circle with a lot of these programs and supporting the Hastings community. So I'll keep it short. I probably spent my time already, Matt. Matt's given me the green light, says I have more time. But again, as business leaders in the community, we need to make this event bigger. We can't necessarily keep asking for more money from the same people. We want to make that pie a little bit bigger. So if there's opportunities within your network to share the good work that's being done at the United Way to help expand our contributions or our workplace givings, be greatly appreciated. Mary put out some questionnaires and notes. If you have somebody in mind or a contact that we can make, would be greatly appreciated, helping to expand our network as well. So another way to support the United Way of Hastings is getting involved. Whether it's on the board, serving on a committee, things like that. We need time. We need a diverse group of time and talents. We don't have all the answers, but we do appreciate everyone's perspective and new perspectives as well. So if the opportunity presents itself, please reach out to Mary as well if you've got some time that you could help with the board meeting or being on committees and things like that. Or if you have others in your organization, you maybe have somebody, a rising star or somebody within your organization. This is also a development opportunity as well for them to get involved in the community. What does it take to, what's happening in the community? What does it take to be on a board? And all of the structure and the different levels of conversations and that have to happen as part of that process. So with that, I think that's about my time, about what I had to say. Thank you very much, Cal, the great work you do, to all of our funded agencies and helping support the Hastings community and make it a better place. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Steve. Well, as we get towards the end of our time together this morning, we want to take some time to say thank you and to recognize some of the businesses that have been really key and critical as partners for us at the United Way of Hastings. And so again, I'll direct your attention to the program that you have, and on that sheet, you'll see a list of some of the organizations and businesses that we want to recognize and again, to say thank you. One of the things that we want to do is we want to recognize our top 5 workplace giving businesses from 2022. Workplace giving, these are organizations that have said to their employees, we're going to allow you to set aside some funds from your paycheck and to have those drawn out right out of your paycheck and as a donation to United Way of Hastings. And some of the companies that have done this have actually, as Steve mentioned, stepped up and said, we're going to actually match the donations, either in whole or maybe to a percentage. And so we are really, really grateful for these partners. And we want to highlight, as I mentioned, the 5 top workplace giving business leaders from 2022. What I'm going to have you do is I'm going to mention each of them individually, and I'm going to have any representatives from that organization, if you could just come up forward. We want to give you a token of our appreciation, but we also want to take a photo with you, if we could, just to acknowledge and show our appreciation to you. The first one is the city of Hastings. which I work for. And I don't believe anybody else was able to be here this morning, somebody with a little higher level of authority than I have. But obviously they have been really key. It's something I do. And I mentioned as we as a board were talking, what I love about it is I don't have to think about the giving. It just automatically comes out. I don't even have to think about it or process. Oh, do I have enough? I make the rest of work. Because it's already giving out of my paycheck. And so the city of Hastings has been one of our top 5, and we're really, really grateful for their partnership. Dakota County. I believe we have someone here from Dakota County. No? Yes, come on up if you wouldn't mind, please. Let's give a round of applause for Dakota County. And also Intech Plastics, you could come up. And ISD 200, the Hastings School Board here in town. And last but not least, Excel Energy. We really appreciate Excel, not only with the financial contribution, but as Steve said, they've been really key with allowing their employees to be involved with our board as well over the last few years, and really got some great people in your organization, so thank you. We also want to take a few moments and recognize our Arch, Bridge, and Blue Bridge community leaders for 2022. These are businesses that have made a significant investment into the work of United Way of Hastings at a specific giving level. They've committed at a certain level, and we're really grateful for each of you. So again, as I introduce each company and ask if you just come up as well so we can give you a token of our appreciation and also take a photo. All right, first we have 3M, Cottage Grove. And then Elm Salon. I don't believe that anyone was able to be here from Elm this morning, but greatly appreciate all that they do. Hoffman and McNamara. Again, I don't believe that they were able to be here this morning, but I do believe we have someone from Hoffman and McNamara Foundation. Is that correct? Denny Hoffman here? Denny McNamara here? What's that? I don't think you need it. Oh, okay. How about Merchants Bank? Awesome. All right, and then Premier Bank. And then Spectro Alloys. I don't think anyone was able to be here from their organization today, but United Alina Hospital wasn't able to make it. Okay, but I do know that I think it's Paul's here from VFW, Post 1210. Got to meet Paul this morning. All right, and then our Blue Bridge community business leaders, Bellwood Oaks Golf Club. Again, I don't think anyone was able to be here from them this morning. Collins Wealth Management, though. Do we have Greg here? Oh, he had to leave early. Okay. Consemius Company. I don't think that they were able to be here. Edward Jones. She wasn't able to be here. All right. How about Graphic Design? Awesome. Fantastic. All right. Kimmis Bauer Well Drilling. I don't think we have anyone from them this morning. Minnesota Coaches as well. Hastings Bus Company, unable to be here. Power Within Chiropractic, unable to be here this morning, as well as Schwabel, Getz, and Sieben, not able to be here this morning. But Weiss Builders, I believe that. Oh, just left. All right. Well, can we again just give a round of applause for all these partners? Obviously, we have a number of awards on the table back here, and we'll make sure that we get those delivered to them. Well, this comes to the end of our program this morning. Again, I am so grateful. I know all of you are tremendously busy people and have a lot going on. So I really greatly appreciate, obviously, you being here this morning so that we can take a few minutes and update all of you about some of the things that are going on with United Way of Hastings, but also to pause and just say thank you. And we really sincerely mean that. We really, really do. As all of you are aware, as either working in organizations supporting the community or working in businesses in the community, as I mentioned, these past few years have been really, really challenging. And frankly, for a lot of nonprofits, especially around our size, for many of them, it's been catastrophic. And a lot of them have had their doors closed. And I am so grateful that we can be here today. And through your support, that we've not only just been able to survive these last few years, but we are really, really positioned to thrive as an organization. And it's because of your partnership. We really couldn't do what we do without those of you in this room, either as partners, arm in arm, helping to meet the needs in our community, or as donors getting behind us and saying, we believe in what you're doing. And we've got maybe a different calling in what we are called to do in the marketplace and in business, but we see the value that it brings, as Steve shared, and we want to come alongside and support. And so we are excited for the year ahead. We really are. The thing about working in nonprofit, working in churches, sometimes when you're in those difficult times, it's also the greatest opportunity to rise up and to meet tremendous need. And that's really, I think, where we are right now as a society and in our area, is there's a lot of need right now. I know those of you from Canvas Health, you're seeing it in the schools. Obviously, 360 Communities is seeing it. I know, obviously, those who work in areas in legal assistance or in domestic violence, like the Lewis House, 360 Communities, they're seeing it. We're seeing it as well. There's a tremendous need right now. And it is because of your support that we can do what we do as an organization to rise up and help meet those needs. So I would just ask you today, I would ask you to continue to give and to support the work of the United Way of Hastings. As Steve shared, maybe this would be a year in 2023 that maybe you would just think a little bit creatively as a leader in your business to think, well, what more could we do? What more could we do to maybe bring a greater awareness among our employees? I will tell you, Mary, our executive director, Jane, myself, Steve, any one of us on the board or on the staff would be very happy to come to your organization, your business, and share more with your employees about what we do and try and make it a little bit more of a personal connection if that's something you're interested in. But I would ask you just maybe to think creatively. Maybe if you have been one of those partners giving at a certain level, maybe this would be a year to say, we're going to stretch a little bit and maybe try and do a little bit more. But also maybe it's engaging your employees to perhaps give more of their time and their talents and not just their treasure. There's a tremendous opportunity for that as well. And I'll tell you, that is a key really for you guys as business leaders to think about. It really is a key for engaging your employees and raising their level of job satisfaction. is when they recognize that they are involved in a company that is giving back, that's having an impact in the community, especially as you employ younger generations. It's a really, really key thing they're looking for in their businesses. So I encourage you to think about that. I would encourage you also, as you go from here this morning, I would just ask if you would be an ambassador for us. You know, as you think about an ambassador who goes from here and lives in Japan, or goes from here and lives in another, they cross into a different culture that for those of us living in this nation, we don't have access to, but they go and they represent. And all of you have networks and spheres of influence that I couldn't touch, I couldn't connect with perhaps, but you do. And I would just ask that you could be an ambassador for the United Way of Hastings. And what I mean by that is just simply talk about what we're doing, share what we're doing, connect people to our social media, maybe direct them to our website so they can learn more about who we are and what we're doing in the community, and see how they might become involved, whether that's with their time, their talent, or their treasure, whatever it might be. And so again, thank you so much for coming this morning. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you so much for partnering with us. Again, whether you're one of our funded agencies here this morning, or whether you're someone who has been a key donor and supporter of our work, we're really, really grateful for all of you. And so this will conclude our program. Again, I know many of you have got busy days ahead of you. I've got some sleeping to do. But I'm glad to say that we're finishing right here on time. So yeah, Mary just highlighted again, if you have an opportunity before you leave, as Steve mentioned on the tables there's just an opportunity for you to help us, again, with that connecting with your network, with your sphere of influence. One of the big things that we do as an organization each year is in the fall, we do our banner, our Live United banner campaign that all of you, I'm sure, are aware of. But we're always looking for new organizations that maybe we can connect with and share that vision with, and see how they might be able to get plugged in and involved in that. And so if there's a business in town that you think might be somebody who'd be interested, I would encourage you, if you wouldn't mind, making an introduction or suggesting them to us, and we can reach out to them as well. So if you wouldn't mind, before you leave, take a few moments just to fill that out and help us out if you can. Again, Cal and Katie and Steve, thanks so much for sharing with us today. Really appreciated each of you guys and what you had to share. And again, thank you all for coming. You're dismissed. Thank you.